JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is a series famous for its musical references. Whether it be band names or song titles, Hirohiko Araki, the mangaka, loves to put these things as character names or story arc titles. So when you see your favorite bands like Queen, Rolling Stones, Pink Floyd get referenced, you're probably not going to be shocked because this is an incredibly well-documented thing that Araki loves to do. Odds are, if Araki loves a certain artist, he's probably already put it in the series. But if we look away from the prominent music references, we can actually see that Araki references a lot more things that you might not expect. Such as when the animation for Part 6 Stone Ocean was wrapping up, fans got a taste of what Araki loves to watch in movies. Because anime-only fans were pretty shocked to see that Stanley Yelnats' backstory, yeah, the kid from Holes, was used to fill in one of the characters' backstories that we were introduced to in the last batch of Stone Ocean. But I would say when looking at Araki's movie references in all of JoJo, this is probably one of the most surface level ones. So with that said, hi, I'm Bayfond, and I'm a guy that can't shut up about JoJo's. And today, I want to walk you through a lot of Araki's movie references and how he's been influenced by them. Because as you're gonna see, the references are just piled on. I would say since we've already touched on surface level references, let's keep going on that same track. And here we can see Jotaro Kujo, the poster boy for all of JoJo's. And who's the person that's influenced him the most? Clint Eastwood. From the iconic pointing pose to how Jotaro's personality and demeanor would fit well in a Western, you can definitely see this through and through. Araki's been talking about this connection for years, and in the early 2010s, he actually got the opportunity to meet Clint Eastwood, which ended up with a pretty badass photo shoot. Moving on from just like a simple character, let's move on to how movies influence the early parts of JoJo, because it's massive when you take in consideration what years the series was made. Parts 1 and 2 are simply outrageous 80s action movies. I mean, at any point, I could simply see Jonathan in Speedwagon or Joseph and Caesar doing one of those Arnold Schwarzenegger like handshakes that you can see in Predator.
Son of a bitch.
That vibe of the testosterone-ridden action movies of the 80s is just seen here so plainly. But in parts 1 and 2, this kind of like feeling that this is being influenced by movies is just there. It's not so flat out in your face until you get into part 3. I say this because there are a ton of stands in part 3 that are easily just stand-ins and placeholders for horror movies. The stand, Ebony Devil, is something that I can only assume Araki came up with after binging some of the Child's Play movies, because they are nearly identical premises. If not for the fact that Jean-Pierre Polnareff, the GOAT himself, was in this situation, it probably would have ended the same way as the movie did. Death 13, one of the stands that brought one of the most iconic lines of the entire series.
I really don't care that you're a baby. I'll snap your neck like a twig.
Is a ripoff of Nightmare on Elm Street. But I'd like to think here Araki was maybe drunk one day and he thought it was fucking hilarious to imagine Freddy Krueger as a baby. How Dark Blue Moon is a more intimidating creature from the Black Lagoon. Yellow Temperance is the Blob. You can go on and on about describing the similarities that you can see from these stands and movies. Now, I'm not knocking Araki and his writing habits. I honestly think that adding in all of these references and influences makes the series so much more charming because it shows that Araki actually likes to share what he likes in his personal life. And he's not doing this with malicious intent. He's not just trying to steal storylines or steal character abilities and put them into his story. What he's actually doing is paying tribute to them because he actually appreciates the source material so much. The fact that you see so much music and movie references from the West over inside of this manga is because Araki is a giant Americaboo, which is, if you use context clues, the exact same thing as calling someone a weeaboo, just in reverse. And these kind of references don't just stop here in Stardust Crusaders. They go on to Diamond is Unbreakable too, because there's a few arcs in here that you really can't tell me weren't influenced by movies. The most prominent of which being the Highway Star arc and its connection to Speed, where again, both of these stories essentially share the same premise, where you can't get below a certain speed or else the main character is gonna fail and most likely die. What I think is pretty funny about the fact that Highway Star and Speed are so similar is the fact that they came out in the same year. Like for someone that's reading or watching the series for the first time, it might take them a minute to make the connection, but someone reading it in real time would have been, oh, Araki saw this movie in the summer like we all did, and would have plainly understood and gotten that reference. And this is the same thing when he implemented the backstory with Holes, because Stone Ocean and Holes came out the same year as well. And another movie that influenced part 4 was Groundhog Day, as seen in another one by bites the dust. This storyline revolves around repeating the same day over and over again, which once again, sounds pretty familiar. But I would say here, this is where the similarity ends. He took just that one repeating every day element and transposed it into the story here, not anything else. But he knew exactly how to use that element to move the story forward and just build the tension to an extreme point. One of the main reasons as to why part 4 is one of the best parts. Part 5 is all about gangsters. So I would say you could pretty much take your pick of whatever gangster movie that's out there and then throw it at this part and you'll probably find some sort of connection.
As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a gangster.
Trust me, it's not too far of a reach. And the use of holes wasn't the only movie reference that was used in part 6. Because in the manga, when Jolene is trapped inside of the prison, she spoils the ending for The Sixth Sense, which at the time that this was coming out was a brand new movie. So he spoiled it for a shit ton of people, I'm sure. And I would say these are the most prominent references that Araki's made to movies. Yeah, sure, there's a ton more. If we look at the dialogue that maybe some of the characters have, like such as Joseph referencing Lawrence of Arabia, or Jotaro whenever he's saying a catchphrase, it's probably lifted from him being such a movie fan. The presence of Hollywood is littered throughout the entire series. And I'm shocked that it took until now for it to be something that people focused on. So for now, I hope I opened your eyes a little bit more to look for these references upon further rewatch or rereadings. And with that, I was Bayfond, and I'll see you next time. Peace.